The plasma restraints hummed against Lieutenant Kyle Brennan's wrists as 6 Kreth warriors formed a semicircle around him in the detention bay. Their chitinous armor gleamed under harsh violet lighting, mandibles clicking in what passed for laughter among their kind. "Human diplomat found in restricted zone," the lead guard hissed through his translator. "You die now for trespass." Kyle looked up from where he knelt on the cold metal floor. His dress uniform was torn, blood trickling from a cut above his eyebrow. The diplomatic summit had gone sideways, exactly as intelligence predicted it would. The Kreth Dominion never intended to negotiate. They wanted hostages. What they didn't know was that Kyle Brennan wasn't a diplomat. "Restricted zone?" Kyle's voice came out steady despite his racing heart. "Your patrol found me in a maintenance corridor. That's public access on 14 colony worlds." The lead guard stepped closer, energy pike crackling to life. "You infiltrate our flagship. You spy on Kreth military operations. This is act of war." The other guards tightened their circle. Kyle counted weapons: 3 energy pikes, 2 plasma rifles, 1 shock baton, standard security detail for processing a prisoner before execution. They'd done this before. Kyle smiled. The expression made the lead guard hesitate. Humans didn't smile when facing death. The Kreth had studied human psychology for months preparing for this summit. Fear responses were predictable. Aggression made sense. But this calm amusement, something funny, Softskin? "Yeah, actually." Kyle rolled his shoulders, testing the restraints give. 0.3 seconds to break free if he twisted right. "Your intelligence really screwed up this time. Explain before you die." "See? You grabbed the wrong human." Kyle's smile widened. "That diplomat you were looking for? Gregory Palmer? Balding guy. Terrible at poker. Actually wanted to make peace with you?" The guards exchanged glances. "He's 3 decks up in the actual diplomatic quarters, probably sipping your fancy algae tea." Kyle's voice dropped, losing all pretense of fear. "Me? I'm not a diplomat. Then what are you?" The plasma restraint sparked once, twice. Kyle had been working the magnetic lock since they'd activated. Just needed 5 more seconds. "I'm the guy they send when diplomacy fails." The lead guard's mandibles spread wide. "You man lies. You wear diplomatic?" Kyle twisted hard. The restraint shattered. He drove his elbow into the nearest guard's thorax before anyone processed what happened. The Kreth folded with a wet crack. 2 down. Kyle grabbed the falling guard's energy pike mid-collapse, spun it in a practiced arc, and drove it through the second guard's neck joint where armor met flesh. 3 down. The remaining guards opened fire. Kyle was already moving. The first plasma bolt scorched the air where Kyle's head had been a microsecond earlier. He dove low, using the falling Kreth body as a shield, while his free hand found the dead guard's sidearm. The detention bay erupted into chaos. Kyle came up firing. 2 quick shots. The guard on his left took both rounds center mass, his chitinous plating cracking like glass under the concentrated plasma bursts. He went down screaming. 4 down. The lead guard was already hitting the alarm. Klaxons wailed through the ship's corridors. Red emergency lighting bathed everything in blood-colored shadows. Kyle had maybe 90 seconds before reinforcements arrived. Maybe less. He didn't need more than 60. The remaining guard with the shock baton rushed him. Mistake, Kyle sidestepped. Let momentum carry the Kreth past, then brought the energy pike down on the back of his skull. The alien crashed face first into the deck and didn't move. 5 down. The lead guard had abandoned the alarm panel and now circled Kyle with both primary arms raised, plasma rifle aimed steady. His secondary arms held a curved blade that dripped with some kind of venom. You are one human. the guard snarled. "Reinforcements come. You cannot escape this ship." Kyle checked the energy pike's charge. 30%. Enough. Who said anything about escaping? He threw the pike like a javelin. The Kreth commander's eyes went wide. He dove right, the pike missing by centimeters and embedding itself in the wall behind him. Exactly what Kyle wanted. While the guard was off balance, Kyle closed the distance. The plasma rifle swung toward him. Kyle grabbed the barrel with his left hand, ignoring the heat searing his palm, and drove his right fist into the guard's compound eye cluster. The Kreth shrieked. Kyle wrenched the rifle free, reversed it, and fired point blank into the alien's chest. 6 down. Kyle stood alone in the detention bay, breathing hard. His left palm was blistered and raw. The cut above his eyebrow had opened wider, blood running down his face. His ribs ached where someone had kicked him during the initial capture. He felt fantastic. The door hissed. Kyle spun, rifle raised. A young ensign stumbled in, human hands zip-tied behind her back, pushed forward by 2 more Kreth guards who clearly hadn't gotten the memo about what was happening in detention. On-scene Claire Vasquez saw the bodies, saw Kyle covered in purple Kreth blood. Her eyes went wide with recognition. "Oh, thank God," she breathed. "They got you too." "They got me," Kyle agreed, then shot both guards before they could react. Just not the way they planned. Claire stared at the carnage. "You're not diplomatic corps." "Nope." Kyle cut her restraints with the venomous blade, wiped it clean on a dead guard's uniform, and handed her a plasma rifle. "You know how to use this? Basic quals only?" "I'm a communications officer." "Good enough. Stay behind me. Shoot anything with more than 2 arms." Kyle moved to the door panel, accessing the ship's layout through the guard's abandoned terminal. The Kreth hadn't even locked him out yet. Sloppy, the flagship's schematics spread across the screen. 18 decks. Current position. Detention level, Deck 12. The diplomatic quarters where Palmer was presumably still alive, Deck 6. But that wasn't Kyle's target. "What are you doing?" Claire asked, weapon trembling slightly in her hands. "Checking where they're keeping the other hostages." Kyle's fingers flew across the interface. There, Deck 15. A cargo bay converted to mass detention. Heat signatures showed 43 humans, the entire trade delegation that had accompanied the diplomatic summit, plus 1 more signature that made Kyle's blood run cold. Captain Angela Torres, his commanding officer, the woman who'd actually sent him on this mission. "Change of plans," Kyle muttered. "What plans? What mission? Who are you?" The door exploded inward. 6 more Kreth warriors poured through, these ones in heavy combat armor, carrying military-grade weaponry that made the guards' equipment look like toys. They'd sent the response team. Kyle grabbed Claire and dove behind a support pillar as the room lit up with weapons fire. Plasma bolts superheated the air. Metal screamed and buckled. "I'm Kyle Brennan," he shouted over the chaos, blind firing around the pillar. "Special operations, and I'm here to burn this whole ship down." Claire's face went pale. "The Kreth flagship has 6,000 crew." "I know. That's impossible." Kyle's smile returned, sharp and cold as a blade. "Yeah, that's what they said about the Kepler station extraction, too." He pulled a small device from his boot. Standard issue for Spec Ops. The Kreth security sweep had missed it completely, too focused on obvious weapons. Thermite charge, remote detonation, range, entire ship. He'd planted 11 more throughout the flagship during his capture. Kyle thumbed the arming switch and felt it pulse to life. The thermite charges were insurance, not the plan. Kyle needed those hostages alive, which meant he couldn't just blow the ship and call it a win. He needed precision, not destruction. He also needed Claire to stop panicking. "Breathe," Kyle ordered. firing 3 controlled bursts around the pillar. One Kreth warrior stumbled, armor smoking. "You trained for combat scenarios at the academy?" "Simulations," Claire gasped. "Not real life, not this. Same thing, different stakes." Kyle's next shot took a warrior in the knee joint. The alien crashed down, and Kyle finished him with a headshot. "When I say move, you move. When I say shoot, you shoot. Got it?" Claire nodded, knuckles white on her rifle. "Good. Moving in 3." Kyle didn't wait for 3. He vaulted over the pillar, rolled left, and came up firing. The Kreth expected suppression tactics, defensive positioning. They didn't expect a lone human to charge 5 armored warriors head-on. Their mistake. Kyle's first shot punched through a warrior's visor. The second clipped another's weapon, making it explode in the alien's hands. Claire came around the pillar behind him, firing wild but effective. Her shots went wide, but forced the Kreth to scatter, breaking their formation. Kyle pressed the advantage. He grabbed a fallen energy pike, activated it, and drove it through the gap between an approaching warrior's chest plate and helmet. The Kreth convulsed and dropped. 2 warriors left. They were smarter than the others. They split up, flanking from opposite sides, using the detention bay's equipment as cover. Professional soldiers, not security guards. This would be harder. Kyle grabbed Claire and pulled her behind an overturned detention pod. "See that control panel by the far door?" She followed his gaze. 30 feet away, exposed position, no cover. "I see it. On my signal, you're going to run there and lock this bay down. Emergency containment. It'll seal these 2 in here with us and keep reinforcements out for maybe 5 minutes. That's not much time." "It's enough." Kyle checked his rifle charge. 20%. "I'll cover you. Don't stop running no matter what you hear behind you." "What if they shoot me?" "Then I shoot them first." Kyle's voice was granite. "Trust me." Claire looked at him, really looked at him, saw something in his eyes that made her believe. "Okay, now!" Claire ran. Kyle stepped out and laid down, covering fire that would have made his old gunnery sergeant proud. Every shot calculated, every burst designed to keep the warriors' heads down. One Kreth tried to track Claire's movement. Kyle put 3 rounds through his weapon's power cell. The rifle exploded, taking the warrior's arms with it. Claire reached the panel. Her fingers scrambled over the alien interface. The last warrior saw his chance. He broke cover, charging Kyle with a vibro blade extended. Fast, impossibly fast for something in that much armor. Kyle's rifle clicked empty. He threw it at the warrior's face, buying himself 2 seconds, used 1 second to draw the venomous blade from his belt, used the other to set his stance. The Kreth's vibroblade came down in a killing arc. Kyle stepped inside the reach, drove his blade up under the warrior's arm where the armor was thinnest, and twisted. The venom did its work instantly. The Kreth's nervous system seized, muscles locking. He toppled like a felled tree. Behind them, emergency doors slammed down with a deafening clang. The bay was sealed. Claire slumped against the panel, shaking. "I did it. You did good." Kyle retrieved a fresh rifle from one of the dead warriors. "Now comes the hard part." "That wasn't the hard part?" Kyle pulled up the ship's schematics again on the panel Claire had accessed. Deck 15. 43 hostages plus Captain Torres. Between us and them are 3 decks of Kreth warriors who now know exactly where we are and exactly what we're doing. How do we get past them? We don't. Kyle highlighted a maintenance shaft on the schematic. We go around. These shafts run the length of the ship. The Kreth are too big to follow us through them. And when we reach the hostages, there'll be guards, heavy presence, maybe 20 soldiers. Kyle started prying open the shaft access panel. We take them out quietly if possible, loud if necessary. Claire laughed, the sound edged with hysteria. Quiet, man, because everything so far has been so stealthy. That was the distraction. Kyle got the panel open, revealing a narrow shaft, barely wide enough for a human. Now we go silent. He climbed in, Claire following. The shaft was dark, cramped, and reeked of recycled air and alien machinery. They crawled in silence for what felt like hours, but was probably 15 minutes. Every sound amplified, every breath too loud. Kyle's earpiece crackled. He'd forgotten he was wearing it. Command frequency. Brennan, this is Overlord. What's your status? Commander Jacob Pierce, Intelligence Division. The man who'd sent Kyle on this suicide mission. Kyle kept crawling, whispering into the mic. Compromised. Detention bay secured. Moving to extract hostages. Negative mission parameters have changed. Evac shuttle inbound for diplomatic personnel only. You have 12 minutes to reach the docking bay. Kyle stopped. What about the 43 civilians in cargo detention? Static. Then, acceptable losses. The Kreth have agreed to release them in exchange for withdrawal. Get Palmer and get out. Claire had heard it too. Her face in the dim shaft lighting looked horrified. Kyle made a decision that would probably end his career if he survived the next hour. Overlord, this is Brennan. Respectfully, go to hell. He switched off the earpiece. The maintenance shaft ended at a vertical drop that descended 3 decks. Kyle peered down into darkness, saw handholds welded into the metal walls, and started climbing without hesitation. Claire followed, her breathing rapid but controlled. You just told command to go to hell. I did. They'll court-martial you. Dishonorable discharge? Prison time. Probably. Kyle's boots found purchase on narrow rungs designed for Kreth maintenance drones, not human hands. You want to turn back? I understand. This stopped being an official operation 30 seconds ago. Claire was quiet for a moment, just the sound of metal scraping metal as they descended. Then, those people in cargo detention, they're terraformers, colonists. My sister's husband is one of them. Kyle glanced up at her. What's his name? Danny Fletcher. Engineer. He fixes atmospheric processors. Her voice cracked. He tells terrible jokes and makes the best coffee in 3 systems. And he doesn't deserve to die because some admiral decided he's acceptable losses. No, he doesn't. Kyle kept climbing. So we get him out. We get all of them out. How? Working on it. They reached deck 14. Kyle forced open the access hatch and emerged into a dimly lit corridor. Empty for now, but he heard footsteps echoing from somewhere nearby. Lots of them. Search parties spreading through the ship. Claire dropped down beside him. Rifle ready. She'd stopped shaking. Good. He needed her focused. Kyle accessed a wall terminal, pulling up the ship's systems. Cargo bay detention is 1 deck below us. 22 guards according to thermal scans. They're expecting a frontal assault from the main corridors. So we don't use the main corridors. Fast learner. Kyle highlighted a ventilation shaft. This feeds directly into the cargo bay, opens above the detention area. We drop in, eliminate the guards before they can hurt the hostages. 22 armored soldiers. 2 of us. I've had worse odds. Kyle pulled the thermite detonator from his boot. Plus we have advantages they don't know about. The charges you planted, 3 of them are positioned near the cargo bay. I trigger them, cause chaos. Guards scramble to respond. We use the confusion to drop in and start shooting. Kyle checked his rifle charge. 60% after swapping for a fresh one. It'll be loud, messy, and we'll have maybe 90 seconds before the whole ship converges on our position. And then we run really fast. Claire actually smiled. That's your plan? I'm open to suggestions. Before she could answer, A Kreth patrol rounded the corner. 4 warriors heavily armed. They saw the humans immediately. Both sides opened fire. Kyle threw himself and Claire through a doorway as plasma bolts seared the air. They landed hard in what looked like a storage room. Equipment crates stacked to the ceiling. So much for stealth, Claire muttered. New plan. Kyle grabbed 2 crates and shoved them against the door. Wouldn't hold long, but might buy seconds. We fight our way down. The door shuddered under impacts. The Kreth were trying to breach. Kyle scanned the room. Standard storage, spare parts, tools, emergency supplies. And there in the corner, something that made him grin. Thruster fuel, 6 canisters, highly volatile. Claire, how's your throwing arm? She followed his gaze and understood immediately. You're insane, frequently mentioned. Kyle grabbed 2 canisters, tossed her one. When that door comes down, we light these and throw them into the corridor. Then we run for the ventilation shaft before the explosion. That'll bring every guard on this deck. That's the idea. They can't guard the hostages if they're all chasing us. The door buckled. 30 seconds? Maybe less. Kyle found an igniter in a toolkit, activated it. The canister's fuel port hissed as he opened it. Claire did the same with hers. Hands steady now. She'd crossed some threshold, moved past fear into action. The door exploded inward. Kyle threw his canister. Claire threw hers. Both ignited mid-flight. The corridor became an inferno. Kreth screams filled the air. Kyle and Claire were already moving, racing for the ventilation shaft as flames roared behind them. The explosion triggered fire suppression systems. Alarms joined the existing klaxons. The ship descended into complete chaos. Perfect. They reached the shaft, climbed in, and dropped down to Deck 15. The cargo bay entrance was ahead, guards shouting into communicators about fires and human terrorists and lockdown protocols. Kyle placed his hand on the thermite detonator. Ready? Claire checked her rifle one last time. Let's go get Danny. Kyle triggered 3 charges simultaneously. The ship shuddered. Secondary explosions ripped through adjacent compartments. Somewhere above them, a bulkhead collapsed. The lights flickered, died, and emergency systems kicked in with sickly yellow illumination. The cargo bay guards scattered, half running toward the explosions, half staying to watch the hostages. Kyle counted 11 remaining. Better odds than 22. He kicked open the ventilation grate and dropped 15 feet, landing in a roll. Rifle already firing. 3 guards down before they registered his presence. Claire came through the grate behind him, landing hard but keeping her feet. She fired at a guard, raising his weapon toward the hostages. The shot went through his shoulder, spinning him around. Kyle finished him with a headshot. The hostages were screaming, diving for cover. Kyle couldn't blame them. From their perspective, the detention had just turned into a war zone. 7 guards left. They were forming up, using the hostages as shields. The lead guard, a massive Kreth with scars across his carapace, grabbed the nearest human, a middle-aged man in engineering coveralls. Drop weapons or human dies. Claire's voice cut through the chaos. Danny, the man in the guard's grip, looked up, saw Claire. Sweetheart, what are you doing here? Saving your stupid ass, she called back. Then to Kyle, that's my brother-in-law. Kyle didn't lower his rifle. His mind calculated angles, trajectories, probabilities. The scarred guard's grip on Danny was tight but not perfect. His weapon was pointed at Danny's head, but his attention was divided between Kyle and Claire. 1 shot, maybe. Human, I give you 3 seconds. Drop weapons or he dies. 3. Kyle's finger rested on the trigger. 2. Claire was crying now, rifle shaking, but still aimed. 1. Kyle fired. The shot took the scarred guard through his right eye, the one not blocked by Danny's head. The Kreth's grip went slack instantly. Danny dropped and rolled as the alien collapsed. Claire was already moving, sprinting toward her brother-in-law. Kyle kept firing, picking off guards who were still processing what happened. 4 more dropped in quick succession. The remaining 2 guards weren't stupid. They hit their emergency transponders and retreated toward the exit, laying down suppressing fire. Kyle let them go. Killing them wasn't worth risking the hostages. "Everyone stay down!" Kyle shouted to the civilians. 43 faces stared at him from behind cargo containers and equipment crates. Terrified, confused, but alive. Claire reached Danny, pulled him into a brief hug, then pushed him toward the other hostages. "Stay with them. We're getting you out." Kyle was already at a wall terminal, accessing the ship's systems. The explosions had damaged primary power conduits. Secondary systems were failing. He had maybe 3 minutes before Kreth Engineering rerouted everything and restored full control. 3 minutes to find a way off this ship with 43 civilians. A voice called from the back of the group. "Brennan? Kyle Brennan?" Kyle looked up. A woman pushed through the hostages. 50s, hard eyes, military bearing despite civilian clothes. Captain Angela Torres, his commanding officer. "Captain," Kyle didn't salute. No time for protocol. "What's your status, Lieutenant?" "Unauthorized rescue operation. Command ordered evac for diplomatic personnel only." I declined. Torres almost smiled. "I heard Pierce is having an aneurysm on the command frequency." "Good." Kyle pulled up the ship's docking base schematics. "We need transport off this ship. The Kreth have our shuttle locked down in Bay 3. Heavy guard presence. So we take a Kreth shuttle." Kyle highlighted Bay 7. "Maintenance bay, lighter security. They keep short-range transports there for repairs. We grab one, blast out before they can scramble. Fighters, 43, civilians through hostile ship to a maintenance bay." Torres studied the schematic. "That's 4 decks up. Every corridor between here and there will be crawling with Kreth by now."
"I know."
"We'll never make it quiet." "I know that too." Kyle pulled the thermite detonator again. "That's why we go loud. I've got 8 charges left. I blow them all at once, create maximum chaos, then we move fast while they're responding to multiple crises." Danny Fletcher spoke up from the crowd. "What about life support? You blow too much of this ship, we all suffocate." Charges are placed in non-critical systems, weapons lockers, crew quarters, secondary power junctions, lots of noise and fire, minimal structural damage. Kyle had planned this carefully during his initial infiltration. "We'll have air." Torres made a decision. "Do it. I'll organize the civilians into groups. We move in teams of 10, combat personnel at front and rear of each group." "Combat personnel?" Kyle looked around. "Captain, with respect, these are colonists and terraformers." "Check again." Torres gestured. 5 people stepped forward from the group. They moved differently than the others. Confident, ready. Kyle recognized the posture. "Marines," one said. A young woman with close-cropped hair. "Corporal Lisa Grant. These 4 are from my unit. We were embedded with the colony group as security." "Weapons?" "Kreth took them when we were captured." Kyle grabbed rifles from the dead guards, started passing them out. "You know how to use alien hardware?" Grant checked the rifle's charge, tested the sight alignment, nodded. "We'll manage." Torres was already organizing. "Group 1, Grant. You're on point. 10 civilians. Fletcher, you're with them. Group 2, Vasquez, you take rear guard. Group 3 and 4, I'll lead personally. Brennan, you're forward scout. You see trouble, you eliminate it before it sees us." "Yes, ma'am." Kyle moved to the cargo bay door, checking the corridor beyond. Clear for now, but he heard movement echoing from multiple directions. The ship was mobilizing. Every warrior aboard would be hunting them. He triggered all 8 remaining thermite charges simultaneously. The flagship shuddered like a wounded animal. Explosions rippled through decks above and below. Alarms reached a crescendo that was almost physical in its intensity. Somewhere distant, something large collapsed with a sound like thunder. "Move now!" Kyle stepped into the corridor, rifles sweeping for targets. The civilians poured out behind him in organized groups. Torres had them moving efficiently. No panic, each group maintaining spacing. The embedded Marines kept tight formation, protecting the flanks. They made it 50 feet before encountering resistance. A Kreth patrol, 6 strong, came around the corner ahead. Kyle dropped the first 2 before they could raise weapons. Grant got the third. The remaining 3 scattered, returning fire. "Keep moving," Kyle ordered. He and Grant held position, laying down cover fire while the civilian groups rushed past. Claire brought up the rear, her rifle tracking for threats from behind. They reached a stairwell, 4 decks to climb. Kyle went first, clearing each level before signaling the all clear. The climb was brutal. Several civilians were older, not in shape for this. Danny Fletcher and another colonist were helping an elderly woman who could barely manage the steps. At deck 13, they hit serious opposition. 12 Kreth warriors in full combat gear blocked the stairwell above. They'd had time to set up a defensive position, heavy weapons trained down the stairs. Kyle pulled back before they opened fire. Contact, heavy resistance above. Torres moved up beside him. Options? Kyle studied the stairwell layout. It's a kill box. They've got high ground and heavy weapons. We push up those stairs, we lose half our people. Minimum. So we find another route. There isn't one. This is the only stairwell that reaches the maintenance bay without going through the main decks where the entire Kreth garrison is mobilized. Grant joined them. What about going through them? Both Kyle and Torres looked at her. "Grenades," Grant explained. "The dead guards back in cargo detention. They were carrying concussion grenades. I grabbed 3. She pulled them from her belt. We throw these up the stairwell? Charge during the confusion? That's suicide," Kyle said. "You have a better idea?" He didn't. Torres made the call. "Do it. Brennan, Grant, you're first through. I'll follow with Group 1. Everyone else stacks behind us. When those grenades blow, we go hard and fast. No stopping until we reach the maintenance bay." Kyle took 1 grenade. Grant kept 2. "They primed them on 3, Torres said. 1, 3. They threw. The grenades arced up the stairwell. The Kreth saw them coming, tried to scatter. Too late.